Imagine being so flexible that you can perform a perfect split on the top of two trucks, creating one of the most iconic commercials of all time. This level of flexibility feels like it's reserved for a special group of athletes, superheroes, and circus freaks. And Jean-Claude Van Damme. But there are some ordinary people walking among us with otherworldly flexibility. And I'm definitely not one of them. In fact, recently I started experiencing knee pain due to a lack of flexibility. It turns out my ankles lack the adequate mobility and my hamstrings and calves are too tight to execute a barbell squat with good form. As time progressed, this issue resulted in lower back tightness and discomfort across my entire back, making my stiffness worse and worse. I had to do something about it, so I decided to look into my options. Here's what I found. We all lose flexibility as we age. Year after year, our overall elasticity is decreasing and we lose a great amount of our range of motion as we get tighter across our lifetime. This is normal, but this newfound tightness in our worn-out bodies increases the risk of injury and eventually leads to poor posture, pain, discomfort, and the worst aspect of it all, no more splits. But could there be a way to offset our body's age-related rigidity? The short answer is yes. Yes, you can offset age-related flexibility issues. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. If you're here for the long answer, let me introduce you to Bob Anderson. Bob is the world's most well-known figure in the field of flexibility and the author of the book Stretching. His book first appeared in 1975 and since then it sold over 3.5 million copies worldwide, making it the most popular fitness book of all time. Anderson developed a method for improving flexibility and compensating for the sedentary lifestyles of modern humans. The Anderson method has four main principles. Feel the stretch within the target muscles, stretch to a point of light tension and hold for 15 to 30 seconds, he calls this the easy stretch. Then move on to the developmental stretch, which is about an inch further, where you feel a light tension again and hold there for another 15 to 30 seconds. Never go to a point of pain. If you do, back off, you are going too far. What? What happened to no pain, no gain? Turns out the age-old mantra we were told hundreds of times doesn't apply when it comes to flexibility. On the contrary, a study conducted in 2009 by Wyon and colleagues found that Anderson's understanding of flexibility is even more accurate than expected. The researchers have split recreational dancers into three groups. Group 1 was put on a low-intensity daily stretching routine. Group 2 was put on a moderate intensity routine and Group 3 served as the control group for the experiment. After 6 weeks, the low intensity group outperformed both the control group and the moderate intensity group in both active and passive ranges of motion. Active range of motion refers to how much your muscle can stretch comfortably using only your muscles. Passive range of motion is the comfortable range you can stretch using outside assistance. The paper also notes that the most interesting aspect of the study was the greater increase in active range of motion compared to passive range of motion. Light stretching protocols are not just more beneficial in terms of range of motion improvements. Stretching beyond your feel-good range activates the stretch reflex, which might be causing micro tears in the muscle fibers. Those tears turn into scar tissue, and congratulations, you got yourself a stiffer muscle. Not quite the flexibility you've been looking for, but hey, at least it was painful. Speaking of pain, I should mention that while overcoming pain during stretches might be ineffective for range of motion improvements, there are some benefits associated with stretching beyond our tolerance levels. In a study published in 2014, Wilmer and colleagues found that practitioners of yoga have a pain tolerance 2 or 3 times greater than their individually meshed control subjects. This is most likely due to their improved ability to tolerate pain when in stretched positions. The researchers also found physical alterations to the size of the brain region associated with internal awareness and a direct correlation between the gray matter found in this region and pain tolerance in the subjects. Just a little tangent for you there. Let's go back to the topic of flexibility. So we established that light stretching is the way to go, but how much stretching is ideal? Is there a point where my returns start to diminish, or should I just stretch for 12 hours a day and get world-class flexibility within 1 week? Luckily for me, there are some actual scientists dedicated to finding the answer to this question. In 1997, Bandy and colleagues published a study discussing the effects of stretching duration and frequency on flexibility. In this study, participants were randomly assigned into 5 groups. 4 groups performed stretching routines 5 times a week, and 1 group served as the control and performed no stretches. Each of the 4 stretching groups had performed the same stretches but with different durations and frequencies. After 6 weeks, the researchers concluded that a mere 30 seconds is an effective amount of time to stretch, and they found no additional benefits to the flexibility of the subjects when increasing the time and the frequency of the stretches. I should note that while stretching 5 times a week yields maximum benefits, you don't have to strive for perfection to improve your flexibility. If you feel intimidated by the frequency, just know you can still achieve good results by stretching a couple of times a week. As with most things, consistency beats intensity. This is also supported by a recent meta-analysis by Thomas and colleagues with some additional caveats. They combined the findings of 23 scientific studies into one comprehensive review article to evaluate the current understanding of the effects of stretching on range of motion improvements. The researchers concluded that a minimum of 5 minutes spent stretching a muscle group each week is effective in inducing adaptations in the muscle and should result in range of motion improvements. It's a good time to point out that we are all different, and while the results seem conclusive, they are just averages. For optimal results, you need to adjust these numbers to your own body. Some of us might need 6 to 7 minutes a week to improve, and some of us might be fine with 3 to 4 minutes. It really just depends. The paper also concluded that static stretching protocols yield significantly better results than other types of stretches such as dynamic or ballistic stretches. Given that those can increase the risk of injury, I would just skip them altogether. So, let's recap. What should we do to improve our flexibility? Based on the data, we should strive for at least 5 minutes of stretching distributed through 5 days a week for each muscle group for maximum benefits. For less ambitious individuals who still want to improve their health, I recommend 1 to 2 minutes stretching per muscle group 2 to 3 times a week. Don't stretch the muscles to the point you are in pain, instead try to feel the muscle, remember to breathe and hold your stretches where you feel a light tension. When it comes to the timing of the stretches, the time of day doesn't seem to matter, however you do need to be warmed up properly to avoid injury. If you can't be bothered to warm up, stretching straight after exercising seems like a great time to add it to your routine. When I look at people like the Kneesovertoesguy or MovementbyDavid, I can't help but desire their otherworldly ability to move across space in ways that most people can only dream of. Whether it's through a deliberate stretching practice or through yoga to give the nervous system a break, I believe we should all incorporate some form of stretching routine into our lives to improve our flexibility and our overall health. If you still feel like you don't have the motivation to incorporate stretching exercises into your routines and you want to know how you can get motivated on command, you can find the answer in this video, right here, above my head, which I have never done before, but this time I'm thinking it's gonna be right there. If you're still here, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.